Anyway, let's just settle into a nice, comfortable seated posture. And, thinking about these holy beings, we have, all of us here have lived at a time where there has been so many holy beings on this planet, pretty much all at the same time. And for me, I mean, it was just a microcosm of that was when I first came to San Francisco. And, it seems like everyone was here. Lama Rinpoche is here, Venerable Jordan Rinpoche was here, Geshe Jumper Tetchok was here, and so many of the lamas were kind of coming and going. And ah, I just thought this is how things were here. I didn't realize that there was anything unusual about it. And then, of course, now they all passed away. And then you realize how special a time that was. And I think we have lived in this, you know, um, we've lived in a time where there's been so many extraordinary leaders, all kind of all at the same time. So I think how amazingly fortunate we are to be born around this or to live around this time. And now they're all passing on, but at least we have the memory of their goodness and the work they've done. And there was a beautiful tribute by His Holiness. It's probably on his website, but it's also, I just saw it go through Facebook. All right, so let's just settle, line the body, lengthen the spine. Just being aware of all of external stimuli in your environment, trying not to be distracted by it, trying not to investigate every single little sound or smell or sensation. And then just check in and see how your mind is this evening. Trying to put some space in between the vertebrae. I said vertebrae. I meant try and put some space in between the thoughts. Just checking in with yourself, seeing how you are. Be curious about what's in the mind and just trying not to follow it too closely. So bring to mind all these people of our life, our loved ones, our strangers, and then the ones we don't like. My friend Kate McDonald, who I worked with many years ago in San Francisco with Venerable Rabina, was telling me a story about this, the teaching Venerable Rabina was giving, and this woman was talking about how her husband had had an affair, and she was angry about it, still very angry about it. And Venerable Rabina said, "That tells me more about your mind than it does about the deed that was done. And how about trying to be happy that your husband made somebody else happy?" This is a very interesting way to think. And, if it was another person, there may have been a different way to think about it. But for this person, this was the way to think. So when someone has made you angry, it's a good idea to think about perhaps this is more a reflection of my response, is more a reflection of me. I think all these people, they're just like us. They're just like you. They're just like me. They want to be happy. They don't want to suffer. And they all have this extraordinary capacity for a Buddha mind, enlightened mind. So we'll do this meditation this evening for all these people of our life, for Pope Francis. And we had a bit of a tragedy here this weekend. In this community we lost five 14-year-olds and one 16-year-old in a very serious car crash. And they were driving somewhere at 7:30 at night. Somehow they ran into a tree. It was a single car accident. The car caught fire. One person survived, two people maybe. Anyway, just thinking of these young kids. For anyone here who has teenagers, you must be aware of how painful that might be for their parents and community. Anyway, we think there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. And we create negativity with our mind so equally we can create positivity instead. So think we regret from the depths of our heart anything you've done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives, and think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general, regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma. And we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions, and so having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. And we cannot bear the thought of any future suffering that we might experience. And we know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So we think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart. So Rinpoche used to say regret in itself went a long way for purification. So I regret from the depths of my heart, having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows, because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest that are the cause of why we harm others, and then think again, I'm sick of this suffering. And then think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to this power of reliance. So we turn to the Buddha, who we see as a doctor, who has these methods that we can use to purify. So we're not necessarily asking Buddha Vajrasattva to forgive us. We're purifying ourselves by relying upon his medicine. So imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. You can also imagine this is the mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of this beautiful, radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. He has a beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents the union of these two. And this symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. So we have this little section here on developing compassion. So in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, the very beings we have harmed and those who have harmed us, by developing compassion for them. So think particularly of maybe someone you've harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we have ever harmed since beginningless time. And then think about those who have harmed you and have compassion for them, because the harm they've caused you is going to result as suffering for them sometime in the future. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the sake of all these beings, and think, I must purify for their sake. And then we come to the power of remedy, and this is the actual medicine, doing the practice of purification. And we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Om Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. And next is the purification of our speech. And imagine Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and it arcs around and quite forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech. And this overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So you think all that gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking about people behind their backs and getting other people to agree with you, all of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as you recite the mantra again. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida meboa, Situkaya meboa, Sipokaya meboa, Anorakta meboa, Sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kamasita me, Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasafa samaya manupalaya vajrasafa dina patita. Jida meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa. Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ah Hum Pe. So be so happy that your speech is now completely purified, and imagine it's not possible to do anything other than benefit others now with your speech, and that includes yourself. Don't forget everything you write is also represents your speech. So now the purification of the mind, and Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So you imagine you walk into a room and you flick on the switch, and the light that comes instantly dispels the darkness. So imagine the same thing happens here. The moment the light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all your attachment, neediness, and anger, and depression, anxiety, resentment, jealousy, bitterness, grudges, all of this kind of junk in our mind, all of this instantly dispelled, not one atom left as we recite the mantra again. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita. Jida meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa. Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jida Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam guru hum ha 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 ho bhagawan. Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum pe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita. Drita meboa, Situkaya meboa, Sipokaya meboa, Anorakta meboa, Sawasidi mimpi yatsa sawa kama sita me, Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasafa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasafa Dina Patita Drita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutsa Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Satva A Hum. Pe. So again, be delighted that all your delusions, which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause for why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think that there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. And next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of our body, speech, and mind. And imagine Vajrasattva very happily again sends light and nectar, and it fills you completely. So, just imagine the nectar forcing all the negativities of the body down and out of the lower orifices, as thick, black, yucky kind of stuff, and then forcing up through the top parts of the body all the negativity of the speech. And then the light comes and just blasts everything. And it's all happening simultaneously and eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from your mind. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita Drita meboa Situkaya meboa Sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa Sawasidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita meboa Situkaya meboa Sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa Sawasidi mimpi yatta sawa kama sita me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum Pe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpi Yatsa Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Guru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawa Tata Gata Vajrama Mimutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva A Hum Pe. So now feel completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now the power of resolve, and this is the fourth and final step in the purification process, and it's a really crucial one because this is where we make a decision that we don't want to harm, that we want to refrain from harming. So we have to, first of all, make a plan. First of all, we decide, then we make a plan. And the first thing to do actually is rejoice in your efforts coming along here tonight, this afternoon, this morning. And the plan is tonight, decide what you might think about tomorrow. And maybe think you can get really specific. So at midday tomorrow, when I'm having my lunch, I'm going to think about this particular habit and, think about the way, how I'm going to kind of help myself not continue it. Write it down, keep a journal. So this kind of determination to refrain from doing things gives us a little bit of direction, guardrails. So Vajrasattva is delighted with us and wants to merge with your mind, melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown. And you think my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So next, Rinpoche would recommend to meditate on emptiness. And so he would say, in emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a moment, and we can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. We can also think that the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's just do our chanting the names of Manjushri. No, was it 1:30? No?
It's 1:35 to 1:37.
Okay, thank you. And manifesting for the sake of beings with means derived from varied vehicles, gone forth by way of all three vehicles, remaining in the single vehicle's fruit, with purified afflictive spheres at heart, annihilating every karmic sphere, arrived atop dry land from flooding oceans, emerged from a yoga's perilous dark grove. 37. Released from general, minor, and complete afflictions and their latent tendencies, with insight, means, and foremost empathy, achieving fruitful aims for living beings. Okay, everybody, lots of love. I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow morning. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for hosting, Shayla. And good night, good morning, good midday, wherever you are. Okay, bye.